What's up, dudes? Max here, and welcome back to the Mortal Kombat X complete breakdown and full hands-on impressions. In the previous video, I was covering topics like, the theme of the game, the look, some of the characters, and a lot more of the aesthetics to what we're going to be seeing in Mortal Kombat X. And now I really want to talk about the gameplay, which is pretty much the most anticipated thing I've been looking forward to because there's just so much to dive into that we can't waste any time. The biggest thing we need to talk about is how Mortal Kombat X feels like other games and how the game feel is for the overall experience I had. This game feels like Mortal Kombat 9. It still retains the Mortal Kombat playstyle, the gameplay, how the buttons are laid out, how combos are, but it does take quite a few things from Injustice. It is literally a mixture of Injustice and Mortal Kombat 9. It still has a few things that I can gripe about. The way some of the moves are, like very long, like normals that take like 10 to 12 frames, like light attacks that take that long, seem to be there. There is a little bit of delay in the overall tight responsiveness of things like Street Fighter is a little bit different with this game, as well as it is with the remainder of other NetherRealm games. It just feels a bit different when you do moves, when you look for those chain combos, looks for things that are safe or unsafe. Mortal Kombat X does retain that feel, so if you guys are hardcore Mortal Kombat fans, you're gonna feel absolutely at home. The only gripe I have right now is that the input leniency is not lenient at all. The way the game stores inputs is kind of tough. It's a little difficult to do moves, especially with what we were playing on, which was PlayStation, I believe it was PlayStation 4 controllers, and with those controllers sometimes hammering out these some attacks was a little difficult, especially in chains, but they are saying that they're taking a look at that, and some of that stuff is very early. Now, one of the craziest things that's switching up Mortal Kombat X from previous games is this overall variation or styles to characters. Granted, previous Mortal Kombat games did have weapons where different weapons had different playstyles for characters, but this is a lot different. You cannot switch this stuff on the fly, and they pretty much act like single characters. Like, for example, Scorpion or anyone else has 3 different variations, and between those 3 different variations, what really changes is about 2 or 3 critical special moves. And you're either going to get new special moves or lose other special moves from other styles. As an example with Scorpion, he's got swords in one, which is crazy offensive. He gets about 3 different sword specials that he doesn't have in any other variation, and in another variation, he doesn't have the swords at all. A lot of his chain combos completely change, making some damaging things way different, but he has fireballs, he has fire effects, he has the fire teleport, and all this kind of stuff. There's huge variations here. I'm not talking about like, this is a small change that'll adjust the way you play your character. No, this is big. Every character has 3 different versions of that character at this point, and they also come with small things that actually make them look slightly different as well, so there is a visual thing changing, but not like a new costume. There's small elements like more fire, you see the swords on their back and stuff like that. Every character has this, and immediately when we were playing, I was playing a lot of Sub-Zero. I want Sub-Zero to be really good in this game. He's one of my favorite Mortal Kombat characters, and there was one that was very powerful, which was this might have been called Guardian Stance. He gets the ability to make an ice sculpture of himself. And from that ice sculpture, you can do several things to it. You can slam the ground, exploding it, causing these shards to go in front of him, which is very good on block, and it's just a good approaching move. You can grab the ice sculpture and throw it at the opponent, and it's just a very good defensive thing because it means you can actually freeze somebody twice. Somebody jumps into the ice sculpture, they become frozen. You hit them with a combo, get them a chain, and then chain into his ice fireball, and from that fireball, they can actually get frozen again, and you literally froze somebody twice, which, from what I understand and what I was talking to the Mortal Kombat nuts that were with me, that doesn't happen very often. Like, you get one freeze in a combo, and that's it, and that was a special variation. All this stuff is super early, understand. All of this stuff is relevant to balance adjustments later on, but immediately he seemed very good. We had this crazy like meta game going on with Ice Stance Sub-Zero that was getting kind of crazy with the zoning that you could do. But let's talk about that specifically, zoning in Mortal Kombat X, because it was an extremely prominent thing in Injustice, especially during the first 6 months of the game's lifespan. I wouldn't worry too much. This game is taking things from Injustice as far as Interactables, but it definitely does not feel a huge zoning type of projectile fighting game like the previous ones might have. Sure, there's going to be characters that excel in that. Sure, that's going to be, the thing they do, but most characters have something that actually gives them zoning tools within these 3 variations. However, there is things in the game that may give you the ability to move around this stuff. Of course, this game is hold button to block, so you can just hold down a block block button and block cross-ups, but the big one is that if you're dealing with offense or you're dealing with somebody that's very defensive, there's tools all around the levels now that give you the ability to just go nuts and get in. What I'm talking about is Interactables, and Interactables in this game are a lot different than they are in Injustice, specifically because most of them are for mobility. Between like grabbing a tree and like jumping off of the tree and rappelling yourself across the entire stage, jumping off of the side of the wall in the corner and getting yourself mid-screen immediately, there's a lot of Interactables that are used just for mobility and not for damage, just to get you out of this situation. They happen a lot faster than the mobility Interactables that are in Injustice, and they seem very useful. They seem like these are meant to be used frequently and kind of safely in a way, so we'll see if they get like touched up if there's like a lot of recovery or something like that in the future. But right now we were just kind of doing it like crazy to see what it does, and there wasn't much consequence. You can kind of move around the screen and do all this aerial acrobatic stuff, which was very cool. There are other Interactables. You can pick up logs off the floor, you can grab giant zombies that come up from waves in the ocean, you can do a whole bunch of things with the stage as far as using the weapons themselves. And you can actually combo into them too. There was a couple situations where I grabbed something off the floor and chucked it at the opponent during a juggle combo, and that stuff totally worked. So you get some cool little Injustice style combos. There wasn't anything like you kick them into the stage or like you interact with your opposition with the stage. I don't think that's there. I think that's an Injustice thing. So we're not going to see things like crazy stage transitions and stuff like that. Don't worry, I think that's reserved specifically for Injustice 2. But the main way you're going to be getting your damage outside of all this mobility and the way the characters are is through combos. The combo system is very, very, very similar to Injustice and MK9. I actually specifically asked the developers if this game was going to become less combo heavy than previous Mortal Kombats, and they said that they aren't specifically targeting the game to be less or more combo heavy. They're letting the players figure things out, which is essentially how Mortal Kombat 9 and especially Injustice developed over the long time. There was just eventually extremely good combos in Injustice that did upwards of 50% damage. For some characters it was obvious, for some others it wasn't, but that's just how it went. And in this game it's definitely the same. Meter burns are still absolutely there. The meter burn button is really interesting in this game as far as what it does, which leads into my the next thing I want to talk about, which is stamina. This game, alongside the meter, which we're going to talk about in a second too, the actual super meter and your health bars, has a stamina gauge that's underneath the health bars, which is a little hard to see in all the videos they're releasing, and they're probably going to touch up that within the UI a little bit later. But the stamina gauge is crazy important. This game does indeed have dashing. You can dash in this game like Mortal Kombat 9. There's forward dashes and back dashes. However, every time you do that special piece of mobility, it costs something from your stamina gauge. You can backdash maybe 3 times until your stamina gauge is empty and depleted, and you can't do it anymore until it recharges up, but it does recharge fairly fast. There are things you can do within combos and attacks that actually recharge the stamina gauge, even though I wasn't paying attention to it too much. But the other big one is that this game has the return of the run button, which is literally done by holding forward, and then meter burn, I believe, and then your character will continually run forward, and you can run for about maybe almost 2 seconds before your stamina gauge is completely depleted. This is nuts, because this reintroduces run combos. That's right, I had the developer give me a demonstration. I'm like, this reminds me a lot of like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, like wah 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 combos. I hate describing them that way, it's just the way I've always seen them in my head, but it's literally like that. You get them up into a launcher, and then right after the launcher the character cooks it, just starts running across the screen, and you grab them out of the air with attacks, and you continue your combo with literally run combos. It looks very cool. You're gonna have to manage this stuff quite a bit because it's stamina gauge dictated. You can't always just do this stuff, which is probably why there's a stamina gauge for it, because it prevents broken stuff from happening in the future. And that stuff looked really cool. I don't know if there's any footage of characters doing many run combos online, but I saw one with Scorpion, and it was with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and they were badass. Like, they looked really good, so I'm just excited to discover the game and figure out those kind of combos. As far as footsies and stuff like that, it's really hard to say right now. It kind of has that Mortal Kombat feel to it, where characters feel kind of rooted on the ground, where jumping feels very similar, but it all just looks better. I think that's the most important part, is that it looks really good. If we want to talk about super meter, which is another key element in the game, it's extremely similar to Mortal Kombat 9. The first part of your bar is for EX moves, the second part of your bar is for X-rays, and if you have all 3 parts of your bar, that is used for breaking combos. And that remains fairly traditional to the previous games. I felt like the bar was filling up just with the same amount of speed as as Mortal Kombat 9, how often I see breakers in that game. That stuff is very good, and I don't see things happening too much different right now from MK9, where X-rays aren't as prominent in maybe higher level play. I can't really talk much about super competitive stuff with Mortal Kombat 9. I've only seen it, I haven't actually felt it, so I don't have much expertise in that situation. But all I can tell you is that there was a lot of breakers available from what was played, and that stuff, who knows if that's going to change. This stuff is very early, it's the first time the game has ever been played, but when I talk to them, they do agree that you did not see X-ray moves very much because they got scaled too hard, and they did not do much damage in relation to how worth it was to have 3 bars and break somebody's combo. They were completely aware. The other thing I can tell you guys outside of this gameplay stuff and how Mortal Kombat feels is I did address the developers about netcode, about online, and the importance of the game running well online, and how some games in the previous NetherRealm titles have had decent net play at times, but really I wished it performed better, and I was kind of trying to be brutally honest, and they do understand, and they're saying with new limitations, or the less limitations of next generation hardware, they're doing their best to improve the online experience, so thank you guys very much. All I can say is that the NetherRealm guys do seem like they're listening, they were open to feedback, and it's just good to see a game like this that looks so good, that will play really good once I eventually get my hands on it even more, to be awesome online, because that's the one thing that can totally screw up this entire game is if the online is terrible, but we're a long way away from that, and there's still a lot more to be looking forward to within Mortal Kombat X, but all I can tell you at the end of this long impression 2 videos that have been made, and me, I haven't really been able to stop thinking about this game, and I just want to play it more, and it's that after the 2 hours I got to play it, messed around with a lot of characters, learned the mechanics, was getting used to it, was finally doing combos, and I was like, I can see myself just playing this. Like, if this ran well online, I told them this in person, if this ran well online, I wouldn't stop playing it. It's awesome. It feels different than other games while combining things from Injustice and MK, and I was a big fan of Injustice. I genuinely liked playing that game, so I'm really looking forward to Mortal Kombat X, and I'm looking forward to digging into a Mortal Kombat game, which has never really happened on this channel, more so than ever before. Thank you dudes very much for watching, thank you very much for tuning in. I'd like to give a huge shout out to the guys at NetherRealm as well, because they literally know of the videos I make, like the coverage I do, they watched me cover Injustice, and they're like, we'd really like you to check out our new game, and gave me the opportunity to do so, and I can't thank you guys enough. I was very critical about things, I was very blown away by a lot of the stuff I saw, and between this video and the impressions, all I want now, what I want more than anything, is really just a chance to play it a little bit more. So thank you guys very much for watching. As soon as there's more news and information, and there's been some recent character things that have been going on with Mortal Kombat X and some stuff that I overheard at the show that could be pretty critical regarding character inclusions later on, there will be future coverage regarding all of that stuff, because I plan on extensively covering Mortal Kombat X. I believe this game could be really good, and as of right now, as of the end of E3, it is absolutely my game of the show, and was the one that wowed me the most of everything. Like I said, guys, thank you very much for subscribing. Anyone that's new to the channel, stay tuned, guys. We cover a huge amount of fighting games on this channel, and I really want this to be one of the bigger ones, especially for 2015. My name is Maximilian, and I'll see you guys next time.